everyone. Welcome to another session of Moneywise Learning. We are talking the last 10 weeks. We've been talking about different topics ranging from assets and liabilities to insurance to taxes to getting paid, the different ways you can get paid. And since we've gone through all those topics, today I want to talk about how to do budgeting. Budgeting is essentially a way of making sure that it's not just about cutting your spending as much as it is about planning and tracking your spending. So today we're going to talk about budgeting because this is something very important as you step into being adults soon, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, you're all going to be adults soon. And you really want to understand how you can manage your money better. So everyone knows the house rules. I'm not going to push it too much. So please stay focused and ask questions, plenty of questions. Ask it in the chat box. Keeps it easy for us to track. And let's wait until the end of the discussion to ask questions. Actually, you don't have to wait to ask questions. I will wait to answer them because I've just noticed that I'm able to cover much more if I don't ask questions or answer questions as I'm going through. All right. So the last few weeks, here's what we've gone through. And if you've missed any of these, don't worry about it. There are recordings. Everything's on YouTube. If you go to Cherry Street Investments, under that, there is a Moneywise Learning YouTube channel. And everything's there, Moneywise Learning for teens. That's where all of these recorded webinars are the last 10 weeks. And today, this week, we're going to talk about budgeting. We've talked about assets, liabilities, we've talked about loans, we talked about interest, we've talked about insurance, credit scores, credit and debit cards, and much more. So today we're going to talk about how we can spend and save and do good things with our money. And in the last session, we'll talk about, which is your session 12, we'll talk a little bit about stock market and real estate investing. So we'll just get you guys started on the investing path, and those of who are interested can keep going. I know kids who are as young as 12, 13 years old who bought their first home. So it's never too late or never too early to get started. So I just want to give you guys an idea of how this works. And if you're interested in investing, you can always learn much more. So with that, I have set up a trading league, which is a virtual stock trading league. And this is something I'll introduce next week after doing an intro on how the stock market works and what you need to learn. But the trading league is virtual money. So you're not trading with real money, but it's following all the real stock market, real-time quotes from the stock market. So you'll all be given like virtual money, and you can trade with it within the real market, kind of like virtually, right? So I'll go through this next week. I have to actually learn myself, and I will teach you about, I've done stock trading, but I haven't worked with this particular virtual platform before. So I'll go through it, and you are welcome to join in right now. I've actually sent out the invites in the last email we had. I sent the recording plus the invites to join this league. So if you didn't get it, watch out for the next email and look in there to get the password to join the league. And there's a link in there as well. Both of you, most of you know both of us. Anar is my partner on this team, and she's been doing webinars for the little kids, 5 to 10 years old. And I'm focusing more on the 11 to 18-year-olds. And I have my company, which is Cherry Street Investment, and Anar is a part of Lotus Capital. We both are apartment and real estate investors, and we are doing a bunch of other businesses as well. So a few review of assignment from last week. If you attended the last class, we went through what a paycheck looks like, what a W-2 is, what a W-4 is. We went a bunch of things, and I'm actually going to review it very briefly today, just as a recap. But this was an assignment last week, and I just want to understand how many people were able to actually look at the assignment and review that with their parents. So I'm going to do a quick poll here. Please answer the poll. If you didn't attend the last class, it's fine. Obviously, you didn't do the homework, but If you did, then I would love to know. If you didn't get the survey, it's probably hiding under some other window. I'm not sure why, because I just do one launch and it should go to everybody. If you didn't attend the last class, you don't have to obviously answer the survey. It's fine. You can just say no. That's okay. Or you don't have to answer at all. James, just FYI, yes. I have a 13-year-old kid who actually bought his first house. So possible. All right. I'd say roughly 42% have done the class homework from last week and the rest have not. So please look at the homework this week as well, because that's really what's going to teach you and be more useful than us talking through these things. You learn a little bit, but you learn a lot more if you go back and do the homework. So with that, let's do a quick review of what lessons you learned from your assignment. If you did do the homework or you went through, what do you remember from the last class? If anyone wants to share, go ahead and type in the chat box, please. What did we talk about? And what do you remember? Like, what did you learn from the assignment? W-4 is a form you fill out for the employer to know that the taxes you have to pay. Okay. Yeah, it's withholding. Yeah, on the taxes. That's a good one, Neela. Well, we learned how to make money. Kind of. You learned how are the different ways you could make money. Yes. I never got the homework, but I attended the last class. The homework was sent via email. If our emails are going to a spam folder or some other junk folder, you might not have seen the homework. So please look for Moneywise or look for Kavita just search for my name in your inbox, actually across all your boxes, because it might be in your spam. Okay, Vic, Rohan says he learned many things on paycheck, W-2, W-4, 1099. Yes, good job. All right, let's do a quick recap here. What we did last week. We talked about the cash flow quadrant. We talked about how you can either be an employee, you have a job. You can be self-employed where you actually own your own job. You can be a business owner where you own a system and have other people working for you, or you can be an investor where you put your money to work for you. So you can either be one of these four, right? And if you have an employee, you're an employee or have a job, we learned about certain sets of forms. So if you're an employee, we learned that you'll get a W-2 at the end of each year. You'll have a W-4 where you tell the employer how much you can be withholding or how much taxes they should withhold, and you file a 1040 at the end of each year. So again, I'll come to this. So if you look at this, this is kind of what we learned. So if you're an employee, you file a W-2 to report your wages. Your employee gives you a W-2 to tell that they have paid you X amount of dollars for the year and also held a certain amount of taxes in each year. They give it to you and they'll give it to IRS as well. And W-4 is where you tell them how much you want them to withhold in taxes. If you're self-employed, you'll get a 1099 miscellaneous usually. It's used to report income made to non-employees. So you're a contractor, let's say you're a freelance designer, you don't have a job, it's not a 9-to-5 job, you work when you have a project. So they're considered independent contractors. And then your employer will give you a 1099 miscellaneous and say, I paid James $10,000 for this particular job, okay? So W-9 is used to confirm your name, address, and taxpayer ID, which is your social security number usually, unless you have a business number, which is called an EIN, which is employee identification number. If you're an investor, we learned there's a whole bunch of forms. Again, I don't need you guys to remember all of this, but There are many forms here. So when you have dividends from stocks, you have div. When you have interest from, let's say, a bank account, you have int, 1099 int. Then you have capital gains. Let's say you sell stock or you buy stock and lose money or make money, you'll have a 1099B. You have real estate investments, you'll have a K1. So it just depends on what you're doing, but that's something you'll learn in the future. What do you do at the end of each year? Every year after the year is over, you file a 1040. And whether you're an individual or a couple, so that you could be a husband, wife, and then you'll file this. And you'll basically say, my employer has withheld this much, but I actually need to pay a different amount or the same amount, whatever. So you could get either a refund or you might have to pay IRS for the end of each year. Whereas corporations will file something called a 1120 instead of a 1040. So they, show all their income and losses and gains and everything here. So today's lesson is about budgeting. Budgeting involves saving, spending, and I hope for you all giving as well, right? You should always factor in giving in your budgeting. So what are we going to talk about today? Like, we're going to talk about what is a budget, why you need to budget, and how you can budget. So, according to the dictionary, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. So, which means what is coming in, positive, and what is going out for a given period of time. So you can track your budget on a monthly basis, you can track it on a yearly basis, you can track it on a weekly basis, as whatever time period you want. But usually you kind of track a budget on a monthly basis. That's usually how we do it. So a budget is not a restriction on spending. A budget is not saying don't spend. A budget is just trying to track how you spend. It's a plan for how you spend. When you have a plan, then you can follow a plan. But if you don't have a plan, you can just go spend wherever. So then you have no control over the spending. So I have a question for all of you. Do you know what percentage of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? And what that means is, let's say I'm getting paid this month, I can pay my bills. But if I don't get paid next month, I basically cannot live in my house, cannot pay any of my bills, cannot buy food. I have no savings. So I live paycheck to paycheck. That's what paycheck to paycheck means. So guess what percentage of Americans live paycheck to paycheck today? 40 to 60%. Someone says 80%. Arnav says 5%. Oh, I wish it was 5%. Arav says, Pari says 70%. Okay, Kaushik says 70, 42, 78. Someone got the magic number. So the number is 78. A whopping 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And this is a real problem, right? Like, I see a lot of people, as a landlord, I see a lot of people who can't pay rent if they don't get paid each month, every month. They have zero savings. They just live on credit cards. So what we want to do here is we want to teach you guys how to never do that. You should never live paycheck to paycheck, and that should never be the precedent for you to live on. So these 78% of people cannot pay for their basic living needs if they don't get paid every month. So how many of you want to do, yes, it's very poor cash flow, because cash flow might be there. Let's say I have a $400,000 job and my expenses are like eating up all my income and I've saved nothing. Then it doesn't matter what my cash flow is, because if I lose that job, I can't pay anything. So these are some of the reasons why you need to budget. You don't have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck when you're budgeting, because you'll have savings. You want to have a comfortable lifestyle, and you still want to be able to pay for things you really like, but you just don't go crazy running up a credit card bill because you like clothes and you go to Neiman Marcus and swipe that credit card left, right, and center, but you don't really have that much money. So the idea is to live a comfortable lifestyle, pay for things you really like, but also save and invest so you can have your money working for you when you need it. So let's say you lose your job. It happens, right? Lots of people have lost jobs recently because of COVID. They need to have savings that they can fall back on when those things happen. So you need to build up those savings and you need to invest those savings. So the only way you can build up savings is if you budget and know where your money is going. So question for you all, who should you pay first from your paycheck? Who are you going to pay first? You can type it in the chat box. Yourself, that's right. Yep, you're going to pay yourself first. What does that mean? Does that mean going out and buying a new car or buying some new clothes? What does that mean to you? Saving, yeah. Yep. So the first thing you should be doing is savings, paying yourself first. That's the 101. If you want to take away anything, you have to save. Because if you don't save and you lose your job or something happens to you, you have a medical emergency, whatever, you need to have the savings to fall back on. Okay. Always, before you do anything, you have set up an automatic payment to yourself, have a different account that you never touch, and the automated payment takes a portion of your salary and puts it away. Like it was never there. So the first thing is pay yourself first and automate those payments to yourself, right? Like every month you put away 500, 1,000, whatever you can afford to, and you decide that and pay yourself first. The second thing you do is spend. Obviously we have expenses, we have houses, we have, your parents right now have it. Eventually you're going to have your own, you're going to have your houses, you're going to have your cars, you're going to have your children and all of that stuff. But distinguish between needs and wants. And we'll talk about that a little bit, needs and wants. The third thing you want to do is you want to give to others as well, because when you help and support others, it'll come back to you. It might not come back. It might come back to you monetarily. It might come back to you in terms of satisfaction. Those things you cannot put a price on. Okay. And we'll talk about all the three of them a little bit more. So savings 101. What are some of the things you need to do? If you have any high interest debt, so you might graduate without student loans because your parents have planned for it. That's great. That'll be the best situation. But let's say you do have some student loans, pay them off, get rid of any kind of high interest debt in your life, including student loans. Don't save it for forever. Like I know people who've been working 20 years who still have student loans. That's not where you want to be, right? You can't build if you have that kind of debt sitting around for 20 years. So no credit cards. I mean, you can use credit cards, and we talked about how to use credit cards well, but you can't keep balances on them and rack up interest on them. Second, you save for emergency funds. 6 months, okay? People will negotiate and say, I'll do 3 months. I say, no, you do 6 months. You can do it. You start saving first for your 6 months of emergency living expenses. So which means, let's say you lose a job, you have 6 months to fall back on. You have it in your account, whether it's in a money market account or savings account or a life insurance policy, doesn't matter. It needs to be liquid, and learn about, liquidity, which means you can access your money quickly, right? And then after you finish saving your emergency funds, which is 6 months of expenses, then you can go invest with what money you have, right? You keep that aside and then you go invest, because let's say you go to an investment, but you can't pull that money out and you need it for an emergency. You don't want to be liquidating some investment because you don't have money in your account. So always save first and then create that emergency pool and then go invest the extra. So what can you invest in? Whole range of options: stocks, real estate, precious metals. There's so many investments out there. You could be doing cryptocurrency, I don't know, whatever you learn and get interested in. I like real estate. I've done a lot of stock trading. I actually just did one yesterday. So you could do whatever fits and which you like doing. And the next class, we're going to talk about both stock and real estate, but those are not the only investments. There are a lot of investments out there. So spending, what are some of the things you need to keep in mind when you're spending? So spend on things that you use often or that bring you joy. So let's say I go do a beautiful vacation to, I don't know, Hawaii, or go, maybe I want to buy that fancy TV, but I don't buy a fancy TV every year. I buy a fancy TV maybe every 5 years. I don't know. but you use the TV often, I watch it, that's fine. But don't be one of those who buys a TV, who buys the latest and the greatest toy every year, okay? So buy good quality items and keep them around longer. Don't buy cheap stuff, because cheap stuff will get bad quickly and then you'll throw them, you'll have to buy them again. So buy good quality, invest into good things, right? And keep them long. Don't keep recycling and buying new stuff all the time. Some of the things with spending, don't spend on electronics, cars, or gadgets. They depreciate really fast. Who knows what depreciation means? So what happens is the minute you drive a new car off the lot, you've already lost $5,000 on the car. That's what what's depreciation is. Yes, Pari says it loses value fast, right? So cars, electronics, all these gadgets you buy, they lose value. So don't invest and don't spend on those all the time. You want a nice car, definitely buy a nice car, but keep it around for a long time, right? They have found that most millionaires in America actually own cars older than 7 years old. Can you imagine that? Most millionaires in America have cars which are older than 7 years. Right. No limos. Yes, that's right. Don't replace things often and quickly. Like I said, don't buy the latest TV, the latest iPhone, latest whatever, right? Because you don't really need it. It's a want, and it's a very depreciating want. It makes no money for you. You just lose money. They are basically liabilities that you just keep replacing all the time. Giving. Why do you need to give? Because giving gives you satisfaction more than sometimes making money gives. People are very rich, but if they don't give, they don't actually feel great about themselves necessarily just because they make money. Okay, there's bigger things in life than money. Helping others gives you a sense of satisfaction. It's better than buying things. So let's say you had $500, you bought a TV every year with it, versus every other year you decided, instead of buying a new TV, which you don't really need, I'm going to give this away to charity or help somebody who really needs it. Then it's better than buying those things which are losing value, right? You buy a TV for 500, it's worth 200 in 3 months. So you can also support a cause that is close to your heart. Let's say you have people that you care about, or you have, I don't know, cancer, or some society that you really care about because you have a relative who got hurt because of that, or whatever. So there could be a cause that's very close to your heart, then you want to support that. That's a good place to give. You also actually incidentally save on taxes. So the government gives you a tax break on charitable contributions up to a certain amount. So you can get some savings on taxes through this and do something good for others. So I personally love to give outside of the country, because I feel like when I give outside of the country, my dollar goes so much further, right? Like I can help feed a child in India or Africa or somewhere for $1 a day or less than that. I go to Starbucks, I spend $5 on a coffee, and that'll help 5 kids eat 1 meal a day, right? So think about it that way when you give for people. I like this website called Kiva, kiva.org, where you can actually lend $25, such a small amount, to someone that's in a foreign country who needs to start a business, because that's a lot of money for them. So don't think that you need to have a lot of money to give. You just need to want to give to someone and want to help other people. So why am I saying giving is a big part of your budgeting? Because I look at a budget as 3 different things. One portion is the big portion, obviously, is the spending. But really our spending takes up usually about 50%, should take up about 50% your needs. And then the remaining should be wants. If it's your spending is 100% of what you're making, you got a problem, right? You need to fix your spending. And then you have this little portion here, which is 20% minimum. I say 20 to 25% is a good rule of thumb for saving. If you can save more power to you, great. But this should be the minimum, okay? And then you have the giving. I usually make that at least 10%, but it's okay if you have to make it 5 initially and you don't have that much. So let's talk about a little bit on the percentages here. right? I talked to you about savings. I said 20% minimum. Ideally, I would like 25%. It doesn't matter where you're living and how expensive the place is. You need to scale your expenses down to the point to achieve this. If you are living, let's say, spending 50% on housing, maybe that's not a city you want to live in, right? Or maybe you need to cut down your expenses by scaling down the size of your house. So generally, people are looking for less than 30% in housing. You don't want to spend any more. That is really your biggest expense when you start being an adult and living your own life. Your housing is going to be your biggest expense. So people usually account for 30%. I'd say you need to scale down and live on 20%, 25% for housing. The rest is all needs. You can't get away from these needs, right? You need food, you need utilities, you need insurance, you need to buy some clothes, you have some personal expenses, you have to take care of yourself so you look good, right? You need a haircut. So these are all needs. I always I save 10%. If 5 is more ideal for you, that's fine. But I would encourage you to kind of stick to somewhere around these numbers. So what are needs and wants? So needs are essentials or necessities. You can't get rid of them. You need food, you need a shelter, you need a place to sleep. So wants are desires. I want this fancy TV. I want a 65-inch LED OLED TV. That's a want, okay? Needs are essential for survival. I think some things COVID has taught all of us, all this coronavirus, is that we have really had to see what our needs and wants were. That's true for me. I don't need to go to get my nails done, but I want to go to get my nails done, right? Your needs don't change over time. You need food. Doesn't matter if it's 6 months from now or now, you still need food, right? If you don't get food, it can lead to adverse outcomes, right? If you don't get a shelter, it cannot be, if you're homeless, it's not great. But the non-fulfillment of wants just results maybe in mental distress. So let me take an example. If I want to go out for a drink with a friend, I probably can't right now. So I'm not very happy about it, but it's not, I mean, I'm still alive, I'm fine. So that's the difference between a need and a want in terms of fulfillment of that need. And all individuals have the same basic need. We have food, clothing, shelter. What else? What is our need? Well, needs are now face masks. I like that one. Water, thank you. So that's true. Right now, we don't need one. We want one because we are asked to wear one, right? It's still a want. I've seen a lot of people walking around without a face mask, so they don't want it. Yeah, food, shelter, clothing, water are all needs, okay? So this is kind of splitting up a little bit. This is a little bit more than food, meaning saying that, you want to have utilities, right? You want to have electricity, you want to have water. You kind of want a cell phone. It's not really a need, but it is a need in our society today. You probably want a phone. So let's say you have a job interview. Someone has to call you somewhere. It becomes a need. So in our world today, this is a need. But in the basic human survival world, a cell phone is probably not a need. So you'll have car insurance. You can't get rid of these payments is what in this case it's categorized as. You want health insurance, you want renter's insurance, you want some basic cleaning supplies, you want to be able to wash yourself, all of that stuff. So all these other things, Starbucks every day, all these are wants. So maybe sometimes if you can't really save, you need to look at your wants and say, okay, what do I really not need here, right? This is a want. So can I skip eating out? Can I cook more at home? That's usually a huge expense for most people. And a lot of friends and people I know are saying that COVID has actually reduced their budget eating out because they're cooking more at home. So they're saving a lot of money. So that's probably one of the best things you can probably cut back on when you start working, is to not eat out every single day and is to cook more at home, because one, you eat healthy, and two, you don't spend as much. So I believe there are 5 steps to budgeting. So the first one is figure out what your income is. So remember, what the employer says they're going to pay you isn't what you're going to get in your hand after everything. Taxes, retirement benefits that you want to put money into, whatever, right? We saw the paycheck 2 weeks ago, and we talked about what is post-tax and pre-tax income. So figure out what your post-tax income is. After everything you've paid, what's coming into your bank account. Choose a budgeting plan. And I have a video. It's actually a very informative video. I thought I'll go through it but in the class, but I think the video is so good that you'll understand better. You track your progress. Tracking and planning is very important, because if you cannot plan and track, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where the money is going. So you need to be able to track your progress. There's a lot of nice, cool apps to track your progress, and you can start looking at them right now. It's actually a fun exercise to do with your parents. I also want you to automate your savings. What does this mean? You can set up an automatic transfer to your savings account every month or a certain date. X amount of dollars just goes into your savings account. This counts as paying yourself first, okay? Automate your savings. Sometimes you need to revisit your budget. Maybe you're spending much more than you thought on XYZ. And then you need to revisit and say, should I modify my budget, or do I need to allocate more for travel because I really love traveling? So you'll have to kind of rebalance your budget. So I want you guys to watch this video. It's really cool. I'll stop the share and then play this video. I try to insert it into this webinar or slideshow, and it didn't really work. So I'm just going to play it outside. Give me a second and I'll be sharing it. So while I'm waiting, any comments so far? Any questions? I'm seeing some funny notes there. All right, can you guys see the screen? Okay. Can you hear the sound?
Keeping a detailed budget can be one of the best ways to help you save money and avoid overspending. But not everyone has the time or the desire to sit down with a spreadsheet on a regular basis. You may have even tried to keep a budget before, but it didn't work out. You're not alone. Fortunately, there are some ways you can manage your money without a traditional spreadsheet. Now, the most important part of managing your money is making sure your needs are covered. This will require a bit of math, but it doesn't need to be complicated. Start by figuring out all of your regular monthly expenses. This will be your regular bills, like rent or mortgage payments, all your utilities, insurance payments, and any other loan or credit card payments you make each month. Then, estimate your other necessary expenses, like what you spend per month on groceries and transportation costs. Add all these costs up and you've got your baseline, what you need to cover every month. When it comes to paying your regular bills, setting up alerts on a calendar can help to remind you to pay them a few days before they're due. Or to make it even easier, you can try automating some of your payments. You can sign up for automatic bill pay with your utility companies, lenders, and in some cases, even with your landlord. The amount you owe each month will be automatically withdrawn from your bank account or charged to your credit card. Automating payments can save you time and effort every month and help make sure your bills are paid on time. Just be sure you always have enough money available in your account to cover all of your automatic withdrawals. And if you use a credit card, make sure you can pay the balance in full each month in order to avoid paying interest on those charges. If you change your mind and decide that automatic payments aren't for you, you can always cancel your scheduled payments and go back to paying manually. Automatic payments can also be a great way to help you systematically pay down debt if you set up extra payments towards your loans. And they can help you grow your savings if you set up regular contributions to a savings account. This can be especially helpful if you've had trouble saving in the past. To help yourself prioritize saving, you can try thinking of saving as a bill you have to pay to yourself. Even if it's just a small amount, making automatic payments to yourself can help you build up an emergency fund or a retirement account. Once you've taken care of your regular bills and savings, you have a bit more flexibility with what's left. But if you find yourself overspending from month to month, you might want to try tracking your spending. One simple way of doing this is using the envelope method, While it might sound old-fashioned, putting a set amount of cash in envelopes each month for different purposes, like groceries, transportation, dining out, and just general spending money, can help you set limits on what you spend. So then, if you find yourself spending more than you had available in any of your envelopes, you might need to make adjustments the following month. Another way you can keep track of your spending with little effort is to use a single debit or credit card that can track and categorize your expenses for you. By keeping all of your purchases on one card, you'll only have one monthly statement that shows how much you've spent and where you spent it. So it can be easier to see where you might be overspending and how you might cut back. Plus, many banks now have online tools that can categorize your spending for you. So you'll be able to get an idea of what you spend on different things like entertainment, groceries, or dining out. Many banks also offer account alerts that will let you know when you've reached certain spending limits. If using a single card is too limiting, money management software or apps can help you link all of your accounts and automatically track your spending and saving for you. Many of these have even more detailed tools to help you analyze your spending, and they also have alerts that can warn you if you might be overspending in one category. And finally, if you feel like setting limits on your spending is a challenge, consider making one of your goals a small reward to yourself, whether it's a treat at the end of a long week or putting aside a little extra toward a large purchase you really want. Rewarding yourself might help you feel more motivated about managing your money, as long as it doesn't push you into overspending. While a detailed budget can be a great motivational tool to help you cut costs and reach your savings goals, it's not the only answer. As long as you pay attention to the basics, make sure your needs are covered, manage your debts and savings, and avoid overspending, you will be setting the groundwork for a more secure financial future.
What did you guys think of that one? I thought that was a really cool video that kind of summarized everything we talked about. What are your thoughts? Helpful, okay. Any others? Yeah. Does that make sense to you guys? Does it summarize everything that we talked about today? Yeah. I thought that was really cool and I couldn't do anything better myself. So I said, okay, I'm just going to play that one. So here's one app I use just to give you an idea of budget tracking tools. I mean, I'm not able to use one credit card, right? My life doesn't work like that. I have multiple businesses. I have a lot going on that I have multiple credit cards. I have multiple debit cards. So I find it very hard to track it. So the one way I use is called a Mint, application called Mint. And I'm able to basically track, okay, this is my personal spending and this is where my money is going. So as you can see, the home is a big part of your spending always, right? And I have health and fitness, I have food and dining. I don't eat out very much, but I still spend, right? So this is kind of how you need to track your time, track your expenses. I highly recommend these online tools like Mint, and there's millions of them around. You can just look up monthly or money tracking tools or budgeting tools. There's a huge number of them available. Mint is my personal favorite. So that's what we'll cover for today. Yes, there will always be a quiz. Just wait a few minutes for the quiz to start. We still have 15 minutes. So any questions? What did you guys think of it? And do you have any questions about budgeting? No questions? What's the difference between pay in full and pay amount on the credit card bill? Neela, that's a great question. So pay in full means, so what credit card companies do is, let's say you go spend $1,000 a month on your credit card. They'll say you'll just have to pay $50. It's fine. That's a minimum amount of payment needed. The problem is the other $950 will start accruing interest, and interest from credit card is usually 12, 13, 15, 19%. So you can imagine your $100,000 will get like so much interest in a month, right? If it's 20% interest rate for a year divided by 12, you'll be paying an exorbitant amount of interest. And this is compound interest, right? So it keeps compounding on your card. And the problem is a lot of people will pay $50 a month, minimum payment. Never do that. Pay in full means everything you charge for the month, you get paid off in full. So that means, let's say I put all my utilities and everything on the card and racked up $100,000. Then I basically go on just before the due date, I actually set up automated payments and make sure that I have enough money in my bank account to cover those. So every month, let's say I set up the bill is due on the 25th and they'll say $50 is due. I pay off everything I charge that month until the 25th, right? So when their statement closes, that close date, whatever the full amount is, which is, let's say $1,000 in my example, then you pay the $1,000 payment. What they'll give you is 0 interest on what you're charging. So you're using your credit card, you might get like credit card points or miles or whatever, rewards in some sort, but you're not paying any interest. If you don't pay the credit card in full, you'll end up paying a lot more than what you actually charged on it, because there's a huge amount of interest on credit cards. Credit card interest is like the worst thing ever. If you want to make extra money because you've had bad cash flow, how would you do that? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe you want to take a second job. Maybe you want to figure out a secondary business that you are doing. So what I started doing is I was making good money in my job, but I started investing in rental homes, and I started making some cash flow there and creating income, a second stream of income, but I was still working my first job. So maybe you want to look at other ways you can create money or make money and create a second source of income or a third source. So I always say the more income sources you can create, the better it is for your life, because you're not dependent on one source of income. So let's say you have a job, it's a great job, and they lay you off. What do? You have nothing else, right? So you always want to make sure that you have 4 or 5 other things going eventually, not when you start maybe, but eventually when you build up those other sources of income, they can actually pay you even if your first job is lost or whatever. What happens if you go over budget and you can't pay for your needs? So if you're going over budget and not being able to even pay for your basic needs, I'd say there's a problem. Either you're making too little money or your needs are too exaggerated. Let me give you an example. So let's say a normal engineer graduating nowadays makes about $80,000. A normal like software engineer or whatever. Maybe it's not that much if you are some other profession, maybe $50,000, $60,000. Now, if your needs are exceeding that, then you have a real problem, because that means you can't buy anything you really want. That means you cannot save anything. That means you cannot give anything. That's a real problem, because you are basically, your needs are so exaggerated. Maybe I'm living in a house that I really cannot afford. Now, your need is not to live in a $500,000 house or a $300,000 house. Your need is to stay in a house which fits that 20 to 25% of your income. Remember that? We talked about 20%. Ideally, I'd like you to stay, if you're making a lot of money, that percentage should be lower. But if you're making good, decent money, you're just starting out, 20% is okay. So if you're making $100,000, you can't spend more than $20,000 a year on housing. This is after tax, okay, not before taxes. So if you're going over budget and you can't pay for your, maybe you have a sucky job and it's not paying you enough, in which case you need to look for a second job. I hate to tell you that. But ideally, you want your first job to be paying for everything and your second job to be all savings, okay? If you pay your credit, okay, so if you don't have enough jobs, I think it's not a question of having enough jobs. It's about finding jobs that pay you well and making sure that you do the right things to earn those jobs, meaning take the right courses to make sure that you're employable and you can make good money. You don't want to be a struggling artist. I love artists, right? I always tell my daughter, be an artist, but don't be a struggling artist. So here are some ways you can use art. Let's say she can be a designer, or she can be a UI UX, like a front-end specialist, where there's art involved, but there's also money involved. So be smart about the profession you choose and how it can pay you. Yes, Rohan said you can donate and make food for people who don't have food. So I've been doing these donations during COVID, right? Like I go out and distribute bags. So that's a part of giving, but it doesn't mean I can sometimes put in work, but not put in the money because someone else can put in the money. So the question is, to answer Neil's question on going over budget, I think you really need to focus on making that income so you're not struggling to meet your needs. Your income should be way more than your needs. That's the ideal case. And most of you, I hope, will get there. Okay, so with that, I think there are no other questions. I'm going to go to the quiz. So go to joinmyquiz.com and I'll meet you there in a second and I'll share the code with you. I haven't started it, so I need to go to join my quiz. I will share the code in a second. Give me a second, please. Can everybody see my screen share? All right, I'm starting to see everybody join in. All right, let's see. I'm missing about 9 people. Okay. All right. Almost everybody's on. I see a couple of people missing. Who's missing here? I see 3 missing people. Anyone having trouble getting in? Risha, what's going on? Joinmyquiz.com 633327. All right. Risha, are you able to get in? Rishita. Okay. Who's not able to get in? Okay. All right, let's give a couple of minutes, couple of seconds actually for Risha to join in. So while we're waiting for Risha to join, any other questions? Okay, there she is. All right, let's keep going. Go. All right, I think everybody's done. Ria, oops. Ria is high schooler, I know that. Howell, are you a high schooler or middle schooler? Oh, that's awesome. I didn't see this last time. Great, lots of you guys got 100% of it right. Howell, are you a high school or middle schooler? Okay, so we have Ria and Howell, so please email me. I think Ria, I have your email. Howell, please email me and I'll send you both the gift card. Just let me know what gift card you want, Amazon, Steam, or I have Starbucks. So thank you guys. All right, let's quickly review the questions. So which of the following is the most expensive category? It's usually housing, okay? A lot of you guys got this right. It's recommended that you should save at least 6 months, okay? Not 4, not 3, not 2, 6 months. The amount of money you take home is called your net pay, okay? Gross is before. This is just distractors. Who should you plan to pay first? I think almost everybody got it right. It's yourself. The amount of money you make is called gross pay. Okay, net is after taxes and gross is before. What percentage of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? We talked about this. Everybody got this right, 78%. Good job. What's the best ratio of savings, spending, and giving? Oh, this is pretty good. Most of you got it right. 20, 70, and 10. Okay. Spending includes both needs and wants. And obviously these ratios are skewed. I never want anybody to save 5%. I want you to ideally save 20% or more. This is minimum, okay? Maximum can be more savings and less spending, which is not a good way to use your savings. Everybody got this right? Someone said invest in stocks. No, it's a good way. I think investing is good. Paying your rent are examples of needs. Eating out or buying an Xbox are examples of wants. Almost everybody got that. And I think that was it, right? Was there more? That's it. So good job, everyone. Ria and Howell, just let me know. And one more quick share before you guys drop off. Give me a second. I'm going to go back to my thing and talk through the reviewer session. Like this is the assignment for this week. Review the parent. Do they have a monthly budget for the family? If they do, then talk to them about what that budget looks like. Figure out what your family expenses look like. It'll really help you understand what a real household looks like. Find out if your parents use anything to create and track their budget, or they just track in their heads or use their credit cards maybe to track it. How do they track it? If not, maybe you can work with your parents to create a budget based on your family's income and expenses. Maybe you can use a tracking tool like Mint, or find another tracking tool which works for you. Research the budget tracking tools that are available to track your own spending. So if you are already making some money, or you have a business, or if you're just getting some money every month from your parents, how are you spending that? What are you saving? So track that. So I want you to basically talk to your parents and review what their budget is and what your personal budget is as well, and figure out how much they're saving and what do they do with their savings. So can you guys all do that? So winners, please email me here, kavita@cherrystreetinvestments.com. I think Howell was asking. So please have a quick poll here. I'm just going to put that poll up, and then also if you want to join our Facebook group, we'll be doing more education. Before you guys go, I want to announce that Ria Jain, she's actually on this call right now. She is a business owner. She's only 17, and she's been a business owner since I think she was in middle school. And she actually runs a very successful business. So Ria is actually put together a 9-week course for entrepreneurship, where you'll actually go in and learn how to start a business, learn about all the aspects of starting a business, including market research, what kind of products you should make, and actually pick a product or products and then actually set up your own business. If you want to be a part of it, I'm only going to take 5 kids today, but you have to commit yourself and be serious for 9 full weeks. Okay, you're actually going to set up a business here, so it's not a joke. And we can't skip a class, none of that stuff. You need to attend every class for 9 weeks, which will be an hour long each time. She's putting a lot of effort into this, and I want to make sure only serious kids get in. So if you're serious, send me a personal note. I want you to just message me directly right now and say, I'm in, okay, for 9 weeks. And you're going to learn how to set up a business. You're going to set up your own business, your website, your social media site, and everything. So only 5 kids we're going to pick today from today's class. Yeah, send me email or send me a message right now on the chat, and we will sign you guys up, and Ria will take it from there. And please answer this quick poll here. You should see the poll right now. 1 second. Katie asked, what time is it? What time is what? The business program learning or 9-week course? Let me see. You can also email Ria at dominoeffecttx.com. Ria, do you want to type what time you're planning to do the course and when? What day and what time? Sundays at 3 p.m. Central. So we already have 5 kids signed up and who are very serious and committed for 9 weeks. We will take only 5 more, and that's it. The limit is group size limit is 10, because we want to be able to give them one-on-one attention to make sure that you can start your business. So we don't want to take on too many kids, because Ria can't handle more than 10 kids. So Pari, how old are you? You can type directly. Okay, 12, that's perfect. So yeah, message the domino effect. I think Ria just typed in the chat box, the domino effect at tx@gmail.com, or email me as well. I can forward you to Ria. I think some other kids who are interested as well. Please message them directly if you're not already a part of the program. Like I said, we need a 9-week commitment for this, so we'll only take 5 more kids. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. And if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more about other programs we'll start, join the group Moneywise Learning, or ask your parents to join us at on facebook.com/groups/Moneywise Learning. Have a great evening. Bye now. Thank you. And next week, I'll be sending you the link to the stock league, so you can join the stock league as well.